He first heard the song late at night, parked outside a closed diner off Route 66, the neon sign flickering like it was tired of pretending. The radio was low, just enough to keep him company while he stared through the windshield at nothing in particular. When the voices came together, rough and tender, broken and hopeful at the same time, it felt like someone had reached into his chest and named the thing he had never known how to say out loud. What kind of love stays when it would be easier to run? What kind of love listens when words fall apart? He sat there long after the song ended, engine off, hands resting on the steering wheel, feeling seen in a way that scared him. Evan wasn't famous, wasn't rich, wasn't anyone the world paused for. He was a delivery driver in Arizona, hauling groceries and medicine to people who couldn't leave their homes. His days were a blur of addresses and small talk, his nights quiet and empty. Kindness, to him, had always felt like something you offered when you had extra, and he rarely did. Life had taught him to conserve energy, emotion, hope. Yet something about that song kept echoing as he drove the next morning, the words wrapping around his thoughts while the desert rolled by. His first stop was a small house with peeling paint and a wheelchair ramp that looked like it had been fixed more times than it should have survived. The name on the order was Mrs. Alvarez. When she opened the door, she smiled like she'd been waiting for him all day, even though he was just a stranger with bags in his hands. She thanked him 3 times before he even stepped inside, her voice soft but steady. Evan nodded, doing what he always did, drop, confirm, leave. But as he turned to go, she asked if he could help her put the groceries away because her hands were shaking more than usual. He hesitated. He was behind schedule. He always was. Then the chorus from the night before slipped into his mind, uninvited but persistent, asking its quiet question. He stepped back inside. 10 minutes became 20. They talked about nothing important and everything that mattered: her late husband, the roses she used to grow, the way music sounded different when you were young. When he left, she pressed a folded dollar bill into his palm, which he tried to refuse, and a warmth followed him back to his truck that had nothing to do with money. All day, moments like that kept finding him. A man who needed help lifting a box. A woman who just wanted someone to listen for a minute. Evan didn't change the world. He didn't solve anyone's problems. He just stayed when it would have been easier to go. By evening, he felt exhausted in a new way, like muscles he'd never used before were finally waking up. On his break, he pulled out his phone and played the song again, this time not as background noise but as a reminder. Maybe love wasn't always loud. Maybe it showed up in small decisions no one applauded. The real test came a week later when he got a delivery to a seesaw of a neighborhood, where houses leaned into each other like they were holding secrets. The order was for a teenage girl named Maya. When she answered the door, her eyes were red, her voice tight. Evan handed her the bags, but she didn't move to take them. Instead, she asked if he could set them down and wait a second. He could hear raised voices inside, the sharp edges of an argument that didn't want witnesses. He waited. Minutes passed. When she came back, she whispered thank you like it was a confession. As he drove away, something in him shifted. He realized kindness wasn't about fixing. It was about choosing care in moments when no one demanded it of you. That night, he went home and wrote down a promise he wasn't sure he could keep: to be the kind of person who stayed. To offer the kind of love that didn't ask for proof it was worth it. The song played softly in his apartment, filling the silence with something that felt like courage. Weeks turned into months, and the promise didn't get easier, but it became more real. Evan started noticing how kindness had weight, how it could tip the balance of a day. He began volunteering on his days off at a local shelter, stacking boxes, pouring coffee, listening to stories that didn't have neat endings. He didn't tell anyone about it. He didn't post photos. It felt important that it stayed quiet, like something sacred. Sometimes he would catch the song playing in the background from someone's phone or a passing car, and it felt like a private signal reminding him why he was there. One afternoon, he saw Maya again. This time she was sitting on the curb outside her house, knees pulled to her chest, staring at the road. He almost drove past. He wasn't on duty. He didn't want to intrude. Then he remembered how close he'd come to missing so many moments by choosing comfort over care. He parked and asked if she was okay. She shrugged, a universal answer that meant no. They talked about school, about music, about how heavy it felt to grow up too fast. He didn't offer advice. He didn't try to be a hero. He just listened until her shoulders relaxed and the road didn't look so lonely anymore. Kindness had a way of circling back. A year after that late-night diner moment, Evan's truck broke down on the side of the highway. He sat there frustrated, watching the sun dip low, wondering how he'd get home. A car pulled over behind him. A woman stepped out, smiling in a familiar way. It was Mrs. Alvarez's daughter, who recognized his name on the old delivery receipt still taped inside the door. She called a tow truck, waited with him, shared stories about her mother, who still asked about him sometimes. Evan felt something tighten in his throat that he didn't try to hide. He realized then that kindness wasn't a one-way street. It moved through people like a quiet song, passed hand to hand, voice to voice. You might not hear it right away. You might not even recognize it as love when it shows up. But it stayed with you, shaping the spaces you thought were empty. When Evan finally got home that night, tired and grateful, he played the song one more time, not because he needed comfort but because he understood it now. What kind of love doesn't fade when the lights go out? What kind of love shows up without being asked? It was the kind that had changed him without ceremony, the kind that asked him to be present, to be gentle, to be brave in small, ordinary ways. In a country always rushing towards something louder and brighter, he had learned to choose something quieter and stronger. And in that choice, he found a life that felt fuller than he ever expected, built not on grand gestures but on the simple, stubborn decision to care.